Something I've been reading way too many times since the whole PlayStation ending physical disc production situation thing happened is that games nowadays, or most games nowadays, do not contain the full data on the physical disc. And I think that those who say that are actually people that haven't bought a physical game in a long time. Because if you still buy physical games in the year 2026, then you know that that's just not true. But it's not just me saying that. We literally have a whole website dedicated to testing physical games and checking whether or not they work fully offline without downloading any patches, updates, or anything. Some of you may already know about it, especially if you buy physical games. That website is doesitplay.org, and as I said before, on this website they test physical releases of games to see whether or not the full data is on the disc and whether or not the game fully works offline. So if we go over to the statistics over here, we can see that they have tested 3,485 games. And if we go over here, we can check out the statistics for each platform, and once you click on the PS5 option, you will see that 66% of all the games that have been tested do not require any download to be played. That means that the full data is on the disc and they fully function offline. That is the majority out of 783 games, which are mostly major releases, and a big percentage of all games that have been physically printed on PS5, which are rumored to be over 1,000 at the moment. Now, there's also an additional 17% of games that do not require any download. And if we click on here, we can check out what that means. And what this says is the release is content complete on the physical medium, but has bugs that are either too severe or too many to provide a mostly flawless experience. The game can still be beaten and can also likely be enjoyed for the most part. So in that case, the games are fully on the disc, but they have many bugs that can be fixed by patches, or they're missing some bonus content outside of the base game, though you can beat the main game from start to finish without downloading any updates. If you're interested, I will provide all the links of this website in the description, so you can check all of this out yourself. So with that being said, if we were to include these games too, that 17%, we would be looking at 83% of games that are fully on disc, fully playable offline, from start to finish. And that is not a small percentage. In comparison, only 17% of these 783 PS5 physical games require a download, whether to patch the game or because some important content is missing from the disc. So the current physical disc situation really wasn't as bad as many people thought, and yet all of this won't matter soon because game discs on PlayStation will be gone, and on PS6 we won't have any 83% of physical games that are fully playable offline because every single game will require an internet download since they will all be digital. I know this is a very different video from what I usually do on this channel, and you're also seeing a very different background, kind of unlocking a new part of the room, but I really care about this topic, and I've seen just too much misinformation out there, and too many people think that physical discs being gone soon won't make any difference because they all require a mandatory download from a server, which, as I just showed you, isn't true. And I've replied to many comments saying this under my last video, but I think that a video will work much better and it will make things clear for way more people. I also have another thing I'd like to point out about some conversations that have taken place in my previous videos comment section, which is, but Steam would never take away any of your digital games, so just switch to PC and switch to Steam. The reason why I mainly suggested to switch to GOG instead of Steam in my previous video is that even though, yes, they usually do not take away any of your digital games, that doesn't mean that they can't. They absolutely can, and if they have to, so if the developers make them, they will. It's literally written in their terms of service, the Steam subscriber agreement, which states Under Section 2, Licenses, Steam and your subscription or subscriptions require the download and installation of content and services onto your computer. Valve hereby grants and you accept a non-exclusive license and right to use the content and services for your personal, non-commercial use. This license ends upon termination of A, this agreement, or B, a subscription that includes the license. The content and services are licensed, not sold. Your license confers no title or ownership in the content and services. To make use of the content and services, you must have a Steam account, and you may be required to be running the Steam client and maintaining a connection to the internet. All title, ownership rights, and intellectual property rights in and to the content and services, and any and all copies thereof, are owned by Valve and or its affiliates licensors. They also put it in the shopping cart a while back. A purchase of a digital product grants a license for the product on Steam. For full terms and conditions, please see the Steam subscriber agreement, which is what I read just before. Now obviously this isn't anything new, and what it means is that we don't own the games we buy, since they're only digital licenses, and Valve can terminate the licenses and remove the games from our libraries at any moment, if publishers ask them to. Instead, if you add a game to your GOG shopping cart, at the bottom of the page you can read, "A purchase of a digital content on GOG grants you its offline installers, which cannot be taken away from you." So yeah, that's why I'm always advocating for GOG, even though I'm a Steam user myself. I have bought games on both Steam and GOG, and I think that Steam has the best video game discounts to exist. They really cannot be beaten in that regard, but it's important to at least be aware of the fact that we could lose some of those Steam games. Licenses at some point in the future. That's why, even though I have a library of 60-ish games on my Steam account, I haven't spent much at all on those games. Actually, I redeemed quite a few of them for free through the years, and going through my purchase history, I saw that I spent less than 90 euros on my entire library, which is great, since they're all digital games. And through all these years, I just kept investing in physical games that are fully on disc instead of investing in a digital library. Because as long as the data is fully on disc and it works fully offline, then nobody can take the game away from me. It's not like any of these companies will come knocking at my door and take away my discs from my shelves, since I bought those games fair and square. And in real life, we would probably call that stealing. Can you imagine coming home one day to find that one of your physical games has disappeared, and then you go online and see that the developers decided to enter people's homes and take back the games they sold them without even giving them a refund? Can you imagine that? Because that is exactly how it feels when they decide to remove digital media you bought from your digital library. But I mean, the physical disc option will be gone soon, so when that will happen, I think I will just switch to the Switch 2 for my future physical games, excluding retro games and consoles, of course, since at least 74% of the games tested on doesitplay.org on the Switch 2 are fully playable without any downloads, and all of them are playable offline. Meanwhile, on PC, I'll just keep supporting GOG even more than before, and I'll keep occasionally buying games off Steam when they will be heavily discounted. I mean, I only ever got games on there for literally a few euros or under 10 euros, and that's it. I wanted to make this follow-up video because I think there's a lot of confusion going around that needs to be cleared up. Sony ending physical discs is a big problem, not just for physical game collectors, but also because that's one less option for us consumers to have. And we have no universal consumer protections when it comes to purchasing digital games, which is crazy since the direction that the whole industry is taking is the digital-only one. If there's anything you want to add to this conversation, feel free to comment. This is all I had to say. Hope you enjoyed this one. Maybe you learned something new today. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!